sharing them or not, but I believe it's important because then it's going to take the intellectual idea into emotional idea because now we can associate consequences. So, this mentor that I paid $10,000 to, right? And he essentially had this 8-week course teaching me all this good stuff. And he also had a work with you until you succeed guarantee that if you don't get results in 8 weeks, we're going to work with you for another 8 weeks and we'll make sure you get results. And at one point he got a little bit greedy, right? He didn't focus on the entire business. He didn't understand operations and fulfillment. He didn't understand the word capacity. So essentially, he just sold a lot more people than he could serve. And, trust me, I've been through some of these pains myself. It's called growing pains. Not a single business is perfect. So the reason I'm sharing these is not like I'm a saint or not like I'm perfect. I had to go through some of these learning lessons too, and I think I'm still learning today, right? And everybody will. I'm just trying to share it because as humans, we learn from mistakes. So if I can just maybe spend 20 minutes on this or what, however long, so that you take something away and maybe you don't commit some of my costly mistakes, or in just a moment, I'm going to share this story and you're going to hear that this is $1 million mistake, probably even worse. Trust me, you'll have that emotional intelligence, like deep within your body, not to commit the same mistake, right? It's not just going to be intellectual, but it's going to be emotional. So let's dive right in. He sold a bunch more people, and because he oversold it, he had some trouble delivering it, right? So now people, when they jumped in the Q&A call, instead of 10, 20 people, which was reasonable, now there were 90 people, and he would literally be on the phone for 4, 5, 6 hours, and some people couldn't even ask a question in that time frame. It was just way too many people, right? Now this coach had to review a lot of these clients' material, their funnels that they submitted and whatnot, and because there were way too many people, they got a week or two delayed on the review of materials. So once again, that added up to their subscription. So not only they were pissed because of delays, but now a lot of people didn't get results in 8 weeks. So now they had to be given another 8 weeks. And on top of that, they complained because it was the coach's fault that they never reviewed the stuff in time. So now give us more time. So you can imagine the snowball effect was just crazy. More and more clients snowballed and stayed in the Facebook group that was meant for clients only. So it literally went from like 50 people to several hundred people. And even though they made a lot of money, a big, big problem happened. So this one guy ended up opening a Facebook group against this mentor of mine. And he just invited like 100 clients in there. And of course, the mentor didn't know about it. And in that group, he essentially taught people on how to get their refunds and how to open chargebacks and how to open a group lawsuit, which was, just crazy stuff happening there. And eventually, they ended up inviting one of my mentor's cousins with a different last name. So they obviously didn't know that they were related. That cousin ended up telling the mentor what was going on, and it just turned into a massive, massive disaster. You do the math. 100 times $10,000 is $1 million. Imagine that there was people knocking on your door requesting $1 million back from you. I guarantee he didn't have $1 million in his bank account, right? That's $1 million in refunds, chargebacks, disputes, just a fucking disaster. And then these 100 people wanted to open a class action lawsuit against this dude, which would have just made it 10 times worse. So the reason I'm sharing this story is so that you understand that you don't fucking want to make correlations. When you think someone's really getting results or is successful, you have no idea what's going on beneath the surface. The way I discovered it is I actually got pretty close with his sales manager. We became very good friends, and he shared this with me so that I can avoid making the same mistake, right? So that really ties into, correlation. Just don't make assumptions. And it also ties into the 80-20 up here is that you remember I mentioned 20% of your results will sure be Facebook ads, but 80% is everything else. And in that 80% is also capacity and operations. Just making sure that when you sell 1,000 people in your e-com store or local business or high ticket clients or whatever it is that you do, or real estate, really whatever it is that you want to make sure that you can actually deliver so that you don't oversell it because it has consequences. A lot of people, they run their business by only looking at their goals and the positives, right? They look at okay, here's the goal. I want to make 500,000 a month, and here's where I'm at, and here's the positive results that I'm getting. And they don't measure the negatives. They don't measure the percentage of refunds, the percentage of chargebacks. They don't measure the clients that are unhappy. They don't measure that satisfaction ratio. And as they're getting all these positives and getting all these results, not only the positive side of the business is growing, but also the negative. They just don't see it. It's right behind their back. So at one point, they grow to a certain level, and then everything fucking explodes. Stuff that they were building for years, maybe even a decade, explodes overnight because something terrible happens. And the problem is they never had clarity. They never measured these things. They never looked at the negative side of things. So the reason I'm sharing this is because this stuff could literally save your business. Maybe a month from now, maybe a year from now, maybe one decade from now. But this is the stuff that literally nobody does. You ask 99% of entrepreneurs and business owners out there, they don't know this stuff. They don't do this stuff, right? And matter of fact, there's another distinction as well. An entrepreneur does not equal a business owner. A business owner is someone that owns a business and maybe makes some decisions and networks with people and maybe, makes up some ideas, but everything else is outsourced and delegated, and it's a proper business that they own instead of operate. That's a business owner, and that's who I aspire to be. I'm still making the transition. Like I said, I'm, obviously not perfect, but for a longest time, I've been just an entrepreneur. And most people out there are just entrepreneurs. There's nothing wrong with it. But an entrepreneur has only 24 hours in the day. There's only so many things you can do yourself. And even if you build a team, you can be an entrepreneur with 50 people on your team, right? An entrepreneur is simply someone who's still involved in the business, who's still operating the business, and a lot of things depend on you. How do you know if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner? Well, step away from your business for a couple weeks, and if it starts collapsing or it collapses fully, that's how you know you're an entrepreneur. A business owner should be able to step away from the business anytime. Uh, I don't want to say for forever, but at least for a long amount of time, and stuff should still be okay. And matter of fact, if you do it right, your business should keep growing even without you being there. That is the difference, okay? That's another tiny bit of information I wanted to throw in there. Another thing, quickly want to go over how to properly test. Okay, this is a big mistake I was doing for a while, which is whenever I would make an assumption, right? I would make a correlation that, that the webinar funnel is why he's getting good results. I would stop everything that I was doing, and maybe I was getting no results at all, or maybe I was getting some sort of results, but I would stop everything I was doing and do the webinar, right? And then I just discovered I got substantially worse results than before, and then I was frustrated and mad at myself. The problem with that is I did it incorrectly in the first place. Okay, so let's make it very simple. If you want to try something new, do not kill everything you're doing just to try something new. All right, do not drop A to jump onto B when you have no idea what it's going to produce, right? This is why I keep repeating, don't correlate, don't make assumptions. You got to test. There's no predictions. That's why I keep repeating these words, because so many people stop what they're doing. They jump onto something completely new. They also change like 10 million variables, and now they wonder why it's not working. Listen, if you do 10 million things at the same time, how are you going to identify the cost of the effect? No way. You can't do it. That's why with a lot of clients, when I jump on a phone call, I identify literally 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 things at most. Oftentimes in the weekly deep dives, we literally talk about one thing, maybe 2 things at most. Here's why. It's not because we're holding back, but you literally cannot implement everything at once, because let's say 90% of everything we do is correct and it works out great. There could be that one tiny detail that we miss, and because of that, everything's going to collapse. And now that we implemented 10 million things, there's no way we can identify what went wrong, right? So always change one variable at a time, okay? Change one variable at a time. So instead of dropping what you're doing and jumping onto something completely new, here's what you want to do. Do 80% of what you've been doing and do 20% of the new, because you'll never know if it actually works, right? So, this could be trying a new campaign. This could be trying a new funnel. This could be trying a new way to hire employees. This could be a new way to, deliver your service. Keep doing it the way you're doing it, assuming you're getting some sort of results. If it's completely, not working, if it's a disaster, you're losing money, then yes, you have the permission to try something completely different. But assuming you're getting some sort of results, you want to keep doing whatever you're doing, even though it may not be great, and do 20% of the new. If that works out, sure, once you have statistical significance, then do the 20%. What I mean by statistical significance, okay? Statistical significance is, let's say you start doing something new, right? A new funnel, and after 2 days you see, these leads are 10 times cheaper, let's switch. That would be very reckless and stupid, because in 2 days you don't have statistical significance. It may just be a fluke. It may, maybe a discrepancy. Who knows? There's, so many moving parts. But in 2 days, you just can't know for sure that this is really truly working. You just need more data, right? Another word that I use is a large enough sample size, right? This is a great example. When people run ads, they literally spend $80 and they get like, 20 clicks, and they freak out like, this shit is not working, 20 clicks. Whew. There's no way to say if this is working based on 20 clicks. Like, 20 clicks are not enough. You need at least a few hundred clicks to, determine, for example, the first stage of the funnel, which may be the opt-in percentage, right? There's no way to make a decision on a couple things, or maybe you get 1 or 2 sales. There's no way you can make a data-driven decision based on a couple sales. It's just, it could be a fluke, and even though it may be a good assumption, it's just reckless, and it's probably going to get you out of business, right? So large enough sample size, whatever that ties into, number of clicks, number of sales, number of leads, keep that in mind, okay? Let's move on, because we've spent a lot of time there. All right. The good news is, like, as I'm talking about these mistakes, I bring a lot of the other ones up as well. So drama-based decisions versus data. Oh, this is very common. A lot of people, when they run ads, especially in the beginning, they put in all this work to build their campaign, build their funnel, build their everything, literally months of work and tens of thousands of dollars. And then they launch a campaign, it doesn't work out, and they kill the campaign in 24 hours. Let's say they launch it, the cost per click is too high. I don't want to do this. Kill the campaign, and they just made a drama-based decision, and maybe they've killed a potential winner. For example, whenever you launch a campaign, you need to give it at least 72 hours for Facebook to pick it up correctly and optimize it. In the first couple of days, your results may look scary. That's completely normal. A lot of people just don't understand it. They kill campaigns too early, and boom, they've killed a potential winner, right? Now, back to this, I talked about sample size, statistical significance. Once again, Rome wasn't built in a day. Gathering the sample size large enough takes time. That's why I keep saying that these things take a bit of patience, persistence, and tenacity. So I understand a lot of people get frustrated. They're spending all this money and it may not be coming back overnight. But I need you to understand that all these things, if you actually want to do it right, then you actually want to build something meaningful that's going to provide for you, for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, for the world. It takes a little while. Once again, back to the example of this money machine where you put in $1 and it spits out 10. It's not just a dream. Like, you can literally legitimately build, quote unquote, a money machine, lead flow, whatever you want to call it, or just a sales funnel that works. It's real, but I want you to understand, just put it in perspective, that it's worth gold. As soon as you have it, it's yours forever, and it's gonna be incredibly valuable. But it costs something to build a machine, and it costs, more specifically, patience, a budget, right? You'll need to spend money on ads, persistence, and tenacity. That's it. Okay, so let's see what else I was gonna look at. Drama-based decisions, data. Okay, let's talk about freaking out, and then we'll do the rest. So I already mentioned freaking out quite a bit. What I want you to understand is Facebook ads, or any marketing for that matter, even just business in general, is a left brain game. Just imagine that you're a scientist in your lab and you're testing things. That's how you should approach business. Or maybe you're playing a very complex game of chess. That's how I like to look at it. That's business. It's pure logic. Emotion and intuition is really not a part of advertising. Just take it out. emotion is not going to guide you when it comes to ads. You launch a campaign and you think, I don't feel good about this. It's just really not meant to be a part of it. Okay, so just, I'm not going to elaborate too much, but just get rid of emotion. This is a left brain game. You got to use pure logic, pure math. That's how it works. Okay, let's talk about selling right away. I already mentioned this up here, is that Facebook is a social platform, not a commerce platform. Keep in mind, you're interrupting folks. So instead of going directly for the kill, directly for the sale, we need to adapt a new way, a different way. And instead of selling right away, we use funnels, right? We walk people through these 3, 4, 5, 6 steps so that by the end, they give us what we wanted, right? And of course, in return, we give them value and give them what they wanted. Okay, here's another tip that I just remembered. I want to give it to you super quick, is always get proof of concept first. So you may remember me saying over here that a lot of people spend months and years, whatnot, developing their product. They put in a lot of money, and then they launch their ads, and maybe it doesn't work and they kill it. In some scenarios, they build all those things, and let's say they do the ads correctly and it still doesn't work. Maybe they spend $20,000 in ads over 6 months or 3 months and it still doesn't work. The problem with that is they never had proof of concept. Proof of concept means that you create a product, maybe you create a mini funnel, and you first of all ensure that it sells. I see so many people trying to sell a product and service that doesn't sell in the first place, right? I don't care how good your ads are. If your product fucking sucks, it's not going to sell, right? It just doesn't work like that. Or people think if they only fix up their Facebook ads, everything is going to be cool. Let me ask you this. If you had the best, cheapest, most laser targeted traffic on planet Earth, but you send it to a funnel that doesn't convert, what's the point, right? Or let's say that funnel converts, but now you send them to a salesperson that just cannot sell, for God's sake. What's the point? You're really not going to generate an ROI. So that's why I want you to keep in mind, once again, 80-20. 80% is everything else, 20% is Facebook ads. That's why I don't like pointing fingers and stuff, and especially blaming Facebook ads, because most of the problems are not in Facebook ads. Facebook ads, believe me, is really not that complex. It's really not that hard. Yes, there's a lot of levers to pull. There's a lot of that goes into it. But really, most of our time together is going to be spent on the 80%. Making sure that you set up the fundamentals correctly, your sales funnel, your sales process, so that when we get you these leads, you actually convert. It hurts my heart when I know what we do really works and there's a why behind all the things that we do, and it's a genuine interest of changing lives. And I remember this one client of ours, she was a kind lady, so we helped her build an amazing sales funnel, amazing ads. She was getting phenomenal results, like better than me. I was paying $30 per appointment at that time. She was paying $10. We've literally got her 100 leads, and she couldn't close a damn lead. Now, it was easy to point fingers that the leads were not high quality. I did go through it myself personally just to ensure if that was the case. It turns out that she's never done phone sales herself. She simply didn't know how to close the deal, right? So those are the things that I want to avoid, because clearly it wasn't an issue in the funnel. It wasn't an issue in the Facebook ads, but there was a deeper issue with the business owner of not being able to close deals or not having the right sales team, or some people just sabotage their results because they have a mindset issue. This is another learning lesson that came to me. We worked with the software company a couple years back. We literally helped them go from $0 to $1,000 a day profit. And then after a couple months of working with us, they sabotaged their results. It was phenomenal to see. It was fascinating to see. Not phenomenal. It was fascinating to see because, it just blows my mind how the human brain works, how the human psyche works. And here's a quick idea that I'll share as well, which is called the financial thermostat. Okay, imagine the thermostat in real life. You set the degree at 70 Fahrenheit. So if the room is 60, well, the thermostat is going to kick into gear and it's going to warm up the room to 70, right? So set at 70, room is at 60, kick into gear. It's going to warm it up. Now, if it warms up to 75, then it's going to shut off and let it cool down to 70. So a thermostat's job is to regulate the temperature in the room. It's very simple. Now I start to notice that this phenomenon, this thermostat action happens everywhere else in our lives. Let's take a look at your room and the cleanliness of your room more specifically. There's a set point where the room is impeccable, everything is clear, and beyond that point, you get a little lazy, you let the room get a little bit more messy, and eventually it reaches a point where there's just so much mess you cannot tolerate it anymore, and now you once again kick into gear, clean the room, and there's highs and lows. All right, so messy room, impeccable room, and your set point, which is in the middle. If you look at this, you're always going to fluctuate between your set points. So you're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go up, you're going to go down. I wish I could draw this out for you. I don't think I can do it right here. Let me try to draw it here. I think it's very important to understand. So really, this is what happens. You've got this line here, and over here, this line is your set point, right? And this is, your room being extremely clear here. And this is your room being a complete mess, or your apartment, whatever you want to call it, right? So you're always going to fluctuate in this. The same applies to your finances. Let's say your set point is at $1,000. Let's say $1,000 in your bank account. So if you make $2,000, you're gonna rest, you're gonna party, you're gonna celebrate. I made a lot of money, and then eventually, let's say your bank balance goes down to minus 500. So you say, whoops, that's not my set point. Now you kick into gear and you make a couple more $1,000. And essentially, you're going to notice that you keep fluctuating around this financial thermostat, your financial set point, right? I had to discover this because I was going through income roller coasters. I know a lot of businesses go through this, whereas one month they make insane amounts of money, and then they wonder why the next couple months they're losing money or not making anything at all. This is why. It's your financial set point, and this is unconscious. Okay, let's write it down. Terrible typing or writing. It's unconscious. Okay, so this is something that you're not aware of, but it is very real, and it applies to everything else: the cleanliness of your apartment, you know your finances, your overall happiness, your well-being, your mood. I mean, every person has a different set point for their emotions. Some people, go to depressed and wanting to kill themselves, and that's where they fluctuate. Some people are extremely happy, and they maybe fluctuate down to, being a little exhausted or whatever they may be. So the good news is these set points, these thermostats can be adjusted. And I use a process called human engineering to adjust it. I developed it personally after having learned from different mentors, and I've never released it to public, but I may release it. If there's desire for that, if you guys want it, I may throw it in here as a bonus, but please do let me know. That is something I personally use to change everything in my life. As soon as I discovered it, put it into action, weight loss, making money, doubling incomes, tripling incomes was easier than ever before, because now it's a very simple, common sense, scientifically proven process of how you can actually adjust your unconscious financial thermostat or weight thermostat. I mean, you have the weight set point. If you are, whatever that may be, 100 pounds, I mean, you're probably not 100 pounds. Let's say you're 200 pounds. If you eat a little more, then it's going to kick into gear and you're going to fall down to maybe, 198, and you gain it back. So you're going to fluctuate around 200 pounds. What you want to do is work on the set point, lower the overall set point to 180, and then you're still going to fluctuate, but now it's going to be around 180, right? This is how I can consistently raise my income. And as soon as I started, putting this in here, the income roller coaster disappeared. Like literally disappeared for good. My income consistently started growing each and every month because I kept raising the financial thermostat so much that it couldn't even fluctuate below the previous point. So it's pretty profound. Let me know if you're interested, and I'm happy to share it with you. Let's go back. we drifted again, but I feel like this is valuable. If it's not, do let me know. I'm really creating this training for you with the intention to truly help you, sharing some of my best stuff. So do let me know if this is valuable or not. All right, so selling right away, like I mentioned, don't do that. Take them through a funnel instead. Because if you show up selling them, chances are it's going to bring up negative feedback anyway. On a social platform, instead, think about giving them value. This is why PDFs and cheat sheets and webinars and videos convert so much better, because instead of selling them, you're giving them something. And of course, as you take them through the funnel, the end result is going to be selling them something and then, the value exchange. But selling them right away usually doesn't work. There are some exceptions to it. If your offer is extremely good, or maybe you have a USP that's extraordinary, but keep that in mind. Also, one more thing I almost forgot is over here I mentioned that they spend all this time working, developing funnels, products, so on and so forth, and then they build the ads and nothing seems to work. And even if they spend $1 million on ads, it's not going to work, because it's not the ads that are the problem. There's an underlying core issue, which is maybe the product was not desirable in the first place. I noticed that whenever businesses first breakthrough is they really find an irresistible offer or an extraordinary unique selling proposition, right? So really, if you're maybe doing less than 6 figures a year, and I mean some businesses do more than that, but they still haven't figured this out, the first breakthrough that I recommend you focus on is figuring out an offer that sells like hotcakes. How can you really sell something? Maybe adding risk reversal. Can't talk today. Risk reversals, money back guarantees. How you can add more value than anyone else, so it really sells easily. And an extraordinary USP would be something that sets you apart, right? So one thing that we do is the ROI guarantee. Most agencies do a wonderful job, but what makes us different is, number one, we guarantee your ROI, and then we really work on the core deep-rooted issues instead of just the surface level things. Because I always give this example, and I got nothing against other agencies. I think some of them do a wonderful job, but oftentimes doing a wonderful job on Facebook ads is not enough. As now, by this point, you understand that there's so many other things going on beneath the surface, so many other variables that, yes, you can have the best marketing agency supporting you, but unless you have a consultant or an expert consulting you and helping you with the business fundamentals, it really doesn't matter. And even though you may see an increase in your business or an increase in lead flow or sales, then who knows, maybe next month there's going to be a Facebook group on you with 100 of your clients or customers wanting to open refunds and chargebacks. So that's why I'm saying you made the wise choice, you made the right decision to join with us, because now we can actually look at those things and ensure that we're not only looking at one part of the puzzle, because marketing is really just one tiny part of the puzzle, and there's so many other things going on. So I want to make sure that we help you not only scale and, yes, get you more clients, but also focus on things such as, okay, how can you make more money from that one client? Or how can you make sure that you deliver or that you don't have capacity, so on and so forth, right? So number one, focus on an irresistible offer or a very strong USP. And usually the second breakthrough, which is something that we'll be working on, is lead flow, okay? Lead flow is when you consistently get leads, when you get people consistently knocking on your door for help. That's when you can really experience another major milestone, and then we can move on to some advanced stuff later. Okay, so we covered that as well. Scaling too fast, I covered that. That was the story with like $1 million in refunds. Arbitrary numbers and metrics. I talked about this multiple times, right? I mentioned that CPC, CTR, cost per mil is not the most important metric. Still, don't discount it. It's good insight. But KPIs are more important than that, and more important than KPIs is your ROI, and ROI ties into your lifetime value and the cost per acquisition. So I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and please drop me a note, maybe just a sentence or two of what you think about this video and whether it was helpful or not. Thank you so much, and have a great day.